Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're talking about release dates. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today is Staggered better? Let's get to it. You may be wondering why I am showing you Anthem footage when we're talking about release dates. Well, this is at the core of what we're talking about, simply because we are currently in between the full release date and the early release date. So PC players that have the EA Access Premier already have access to the full game. PC and Xbox that have EA Access have already been able to play for about 10 hours, and everyone else has to wait until the February 22nd to start to play. And if you look at their website, they consider the 22nd to be the full release date, even though there are people that already have full access to the game. And this isn't like a limited release or early release copy for people that review games. This is a full release, but only for those people that subscribe and have the proper platform. So previously, games would be released, they would set a date, and then everyone had that opportunity to start playing at the same time. Occasionally, there would be a reviewer copy that would go out a week, possibly too early, so that when the game came out, they would already be able to put a review into place. Now, review copies generally weren't full releases. Review copies were certain parts of the game, or up to a certain point, or they'd be able to play for a certain amount of time. It just depends on how they had put it together. Not only that, but it may not have been the full release version of the game. It may have been an earlier version of the game before it was released. So obviously there were not one-to-one comparisons. There were sometimes that it was the same, sometimes it wasn't, and that's how it was. And then they started changing things up with games like Star Wars Battlefront 2, and even earlier than that, where if you paid a certain amount more than the standard cost, you would get the standard, and then you'd have the deluxe or gold or silver or platinum or whatever you want to call it, and that would include early access, 3-day early access or a week early access, and you would get to play early on the full game. Why is this important? I think it's the whole psychology of playing a game and being kind of the first. Any number of comment sections on any number of threads or videos, you would see someone with the comment of first. Everyone wants to be first. Some people want to crow about it. Some people don't care one way or the other. So for the people that want to play first and they want to crow about it, early access is certainly the way to go. You're able to get in there early or first and play the game before anyone else. With the success of this type of model, we have seen it more and more often, where it was relatively rare in previous years. Now you're seeing it almost all the time. Ubisoft is pretty popular with this. The original Division was released all at the same time across multiple platforms. Division 2 is going to have a staggered release, where if you got the gold or the ultimate edition, then you'll have 3-day early access, and you'll have early access to the DLC. Same thing with previous versions of Ubisoft titles like The Crew 2, Assassin's Creed. All those games have an early access option. So if you pay the extra amount, you get early access to content, and you can play it that much sooner. Now this will start to bring divides in. Players that get the standard edition versus players that get the upgraded edition, the early access edition. So players that get the early access, they'll be able to get into the game and be able to experience what is going on. And if there's any types of exploits that are found out, obviously they'll have access to those before they are patched. And the people that have the standard edition may not even have that chance. So if it is an online, evolving type of game, a live service, game as a service type of game, like Destiny or Division or Anthem, then you're going to have people that have early access that have more powerful gear than people that have standard access. So not only is it bringing people in at different times, but the rate at which you gain power is going to be different based on what people are able to experience. So for example, there was kind of a glitch or exploit in Anthem where you could go around, pick up chests in free roam, Don't have to fight anyone. Just go through, pick them up. Once you get to Grandmaster difficulty level, and you would get a legendary or masterwork from almost guaranteed one of them. You go out of free play, go back to Fort Tarsis, then you go back out in free play and just do it again. And just do that over and over and over again. And if that takes you, say the circuit takes you 15 minutes between loading up into free play and then getting back into Fort Tarsis. One masterwork or legendary for every 15 minutes is really, really good compared to the hour plus that you're going to do going through the stronghold or doing one of these missions on Grandmaster 1 difficulty level or above. So obviously the players that were found out about it and able to do that are going to be way ahead, light years ahead of the players that did not have that opportunity. All right, so you have the Anthem, you had the Star Wars Battlefront 2, you had Division 2, they all have staggered releases. So on the plus side, staggered releases allow companies to kind of iron things out in that early access period before the full release. So things that probably should have been fixed in the beta but weren't can hopefully get fixed in that early access period before the full release date or standard release date, and people can go in and have a more pure or clean experience versus people that have early access. You can also think of early access as kind of a soft open. You have restaurants and hotels that'll do soft opens where they've announced an opening date, but they have a day or maybe a couple days where they're actually open, but they didn't really announce it. So people that just show up or people that got an invitation, they could come in, check it out, and see what it's all about. And then the business has the opportunity to kind of make sure everything is running the way it should. And if it's not, fix it so that once the announced date of opening, it'll be fixed. So that is a positive of early release. They have an opportunity, a time period where they have the opportunity and option to fix things that aren't fixed or haven't been fixed in the past. For better or worse, early access periods allow content creators, streamers, reviewers, people that have some influence to give their take on a game, plus or minus, good or bad. So it's not necessarily good and it's not necessarily bad. It's potentially good, and even negative press is still press for that game. So if you play the game early, you get an early release or early access, you pay for early access, and you happen to be a content creator, you happen to be someone that reviews games, you can go in, check it out, give it a review, give it a playthrough, whatever your shtick is, and say what it is all about. And you're going to have a certain portion of players that are interested in that type of game find out a little bit more about it. So what else? I've already talked about how it's kind of like a soft open, how it allows people to review or create content to build up a hype or give a little bit more press than they otherwise would not have. I talked about how staggered releases is not a good thing because it puts a divide in between players, between those that have early access and those people that are able to get power more quickly versus people that have the standard access, who will have more of a clean experience, but possibly more of a slog because those accelerated ways of gaining power have been eliminated. Now, the extra money for early access can be seen as a good thing or a bad thing. Presumably, it would go towards DLC or maintaining staff for the company, what have you. So kind of keeping things going, keeping the lights on, but also kind of helping to build up a base so that they can expand on the playing experience of that game. And I think it kind of depends on the game and their purview. So certain companies you may have, and certain companies do have, a certain image where they cater more to the players and listen to the players and give them what they need, and there are other companies that do not. So depending on your view of certain companies, you may have an opinion as to what they would do with the extra money or capital that is coming from those early access sales. Is it something that is expected and it is certainly just going to go to the bottom line and profit of the company, or is it going to go towards future downloadable content for the game, for research, for tweaking, for expanding the play experience, making it more enjoyable for the players. So depending on your view and how the company views those sales will determine whether it is good or bad. And that's it. I hope this opened your eyes to some of the problems and advantages of early access. Go ahead and leave your comments below what you think of staggered releases and how they affect the player base and how they affect you personally. But be sure to ring the bell before you leave to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. And thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.